Hello, welcome to another video on the big answer, the single biggest answer to life's biggest questions. As usual, if you're new, please start with the video Book 1, Intro to the Big Answer, and then watch the chapters that come before this one, as we'll be building on what we've covered so far. We've finished an overview of the main aspects of the big answer. Now let's look at how this would look in an ideal world that maximizes the 7 qualities. Obviously, in a single video we can only hit some general highlights. The main goal is to get you excited to learn more. One of the main principles when we start to apply TBA to life is looking for strategies that get the 7 qualities helping each other, rather than sacrificing some for others. For example, if we just looked at increasing order, many people would find that boring, stagnant, and stifling, because we tend to think of a life where all the other qualities are sacrificed for that one quality. But let's look at how your smartphone helps increase order, and in doing so, lets you increase the other qualities as well. If you use your calendar to track appointments and reminders, that makes your life more orderly. By making it easier to do this, requiring less mental energy on your part, it also makes your life more efficient. You can use maps to see how long it will take to get to various appointments, which means you're spending less time sitting around, which also makes you more efficient, and also means you're not late or forgetting appointments, which makes you more stable. Because you can plan so precisely and keep everything straight easily, you can now plan more things, have more energy for them, and quickly see if you can slot in lunch or a walk with a friend last minute, making your life more complex and dynamic. This is just one small example of a strategy that, instead of figuring out which qualities to sacrifice, actually uses an increase in one quality to facilitate increasing the other qualities as well. This is the mindset TBA encourages. Let's look at complexity next and apply it to a range of topics. If you have 3 part-time jobs, that's more complex. It's also more stable, as if you lose one job, you're only losing 1/3 of your income. It's a more dynamic life, offering much more stimulation, a variety of interactions, and employing more skills. It's more distinct because you now have a more unique suite of skill sets and experiences to draw on. It's more resourceful and efficient, as you can have 1 or 2 jobs that are more passive, or that you can do in the downtime of your main job. When it comes to food, complexity is increased by having a wide range of foods from a wide range of sources. This makes your diet more dynamic, as you can make a wider variety of dishes. It makes it more stable, as any 1 or 2 sources of food cannot work out one year and you can rely on the rest to fill the gap. Growing foods together, as in permaculture gardens, requires less fertilizer, pesticide, herbicide, and watering, making it more efficient. Complexity in laws sounds like a huge negative, but imagine if we had to limit all bad actions using only 100 laws. They'd have to be incredibly broad and sweeping and limit almost everything. More laws, if done right, actually allow for more specificity in what's being restricted, allowing for a wider range of freedoms. Less pushback from society thanks to these freedoms means policing is more stable and more efficient. More restrictive countries always have more energy spent on policing, meaning more people can do other work, increasing the country's resourcefulness. Obviously, eventually, any of the qualities will hit a maximum, where increasing that quality any more will result in decreasing some of the other qualities. But that's the beauty of the self-balancing, self-correcting, self-limiting nature of this model. The goal is to find strategies that let you go further with each quality while still benefiting the other qualities, and which run into that maximum at a much higher level. It would probably take years to cover every topic in detail, and we'll do a few more in a second, but hopefully this starts to paint a picture of what a world that understands and applies the 7 qualities would look like. So many of our mistakes throughout history, and still today, come from strategies that emphasize only a few of the qualities at the expense of others. Many other mistakes come from having concepts of these qualities that are close but not quite right, such as order looking like something that is static, predictable, and simple. Continuing on, You may remember that any whole needs to increase the 7 qualities for its parts and their interactions so that these qualities are then reflected back up to the whole again. For a society, kids are the first step in this. If you look back at Chapter 3, we covered how school teachers, good ones anyway, increase the 7 qualities in their students. Go back and revisit that if you want. These qualities are also enhanced in similar ways by parents, coaches, and any other mentors. Kids that have a solid grounding in order and stability, who can use that to maximize their complexity and dynamics, who learned about themselves and what makes them distinct, who are resourceful, and who can achieve their goals efficiently, is the most important starting point. When these kids grow up and join the workforce, they have these qualities in abundance to bring to whatever job they do, rather than being the kind of person who lacks them and is therefore a draining on their profession or company. That also applies to all their interpersonal relationships, hobbies, political actions, etc., all driving towards increasing these qualities in all aspects of their life, family, friends, work, and society. If you remember, we said leaders that have these qualities in abundance try to enhance these qualities in those they lead. Citizens or employees under these leaders will generally be encouraged to continue advancing these qualities in their own lives in general, as well as being given opportunities to share their unique ideas and perspectives at work or in societal engagement, thus benefiting the job or society as a whole. We now live in a world where the pace of innovation is one of the key metrics to success, and employees with these qualities are the ones that will drive that the most. The kids that have these qualities in abundance are not all going to be the same, just to be clear. If you remember, we covered how TBA explains what evolution is selecting for. Evolution has not evolved one organism that beat all other organisms and took over the planet. Instead, it has resulted in a massively wide range of organisms that balance and complement each other. In the same way, TBA applied to kids, people, and societies would result in a wide range of ways of living life, but they would be mutually supportive, balancing and complementing each other. This is important and brings us back to exploring complexity a bit more. The reason complexity was an asset in all these examples is that the world changes. Calamities happen. Scientific breakthroughs happen. The political and social environment shifts. What used to be a good strategy may no longer be in the future. So if we solely focus on what we think is the best way of doing something in any category and only do that, then we become less adaptable to changing times. So while an ideal world would do away with obvious or proven to be detrimental strategies and practices, corporal punishment, or burning copious amounts of fossil fuel, TBA argues in favor of having many different ways of achieving the same goals, some of which don't have to necessarily be the best today, as things might change that make them the best in the future. Also, since TBA is based on qualities that have no maximum, embracing complexity also embraces trying new ways of doing things that may achieve the 7 qualities at a higher level, with no one ever being able to say they've reached the highest level possible. These qualities don't limit us from becoming hyper-intelligent, pan-dimensional beings, with a society spanning trillions of galaxies, and being able to share all our unique, creative thoughts, ideas, feelings, and experiences instantaneously, yet with everyone able to live life in a way that suits their individual strengths, talents, interests, goals, and preferences. I stress this because a lot of people think that having a single basis for our values would result in a boring, homogeneous, stagnant world. This is not at all true with TBA, quite the opposite. In fact, TBA explains exactly why such a world would be bad. In this way, TBA actually proves why ideologies and dogmatic beliefs don't work. Going back to the chess analogy from Chapter 5, it's like how the goal of taking the opponent's king before they take yours actually encourages you to come up with more and more varied strategies and ways of thinking. Ideologies and dogmatic beliefs, conversely, would have you do the same strategy and think the same way every time. This is what people usually think of when they picture a universal basis of good and bad. But TBA is the opposite. Being the goal without dictating a strategy, it encourages us to come up with more varied, and better strategies over time. As far as rules go, in an ideal world, they would allow maximum freedom. Not unlimited freedom, that's totally different, but for some reason is how many people's brains interpret that. So what is maximum freedom? What would that look like? As mentioned previously, the 7 qualities are self-balancing. One quality is too high when the strategy for achieving it undermines one or more of the other qualities. So if freedom equates roughly to complexity, it gets too high when it starts undermining order and stability, for example. But it's possible to craft societies in ways that allow for more complexity before this starts happening. If your curiosity is sufficiently piqued, in the next video we'll take a look at one possible way I could help with this in a very unexpected and counterintuitive way. We'll also explore some other ways AI and AGI could help us achieve a world that maximizes the 7 qualities, including a scenario where no one needs to work anymore. How will we find a healthy sense of meaning, purpose, identity, sense of accomplishment, etc. if we're not needed for anything anymore? Find out in the next video, Book 1, Chapter 8, AI's Role in Achieving TBA to the Max.